Love it. Very good. I'd like to welcome you to the most ridiculous classroom in Bristol. My name's Tom Wormsley. As Mr. Sharp just introduced, I work for the Ministry of Eco-Education, and this is Briar, my humble assistant. She's just come out of the woods. Did you sleep in the woods last night? No. Okay. Anyway, and this is Sandy. Sandy's a bit crazy. Sandy is a falcon, and Sandy would like to remind us to think about nature all the time. So he's trained to look for people who aren't thinking about nature and go and tap them on the shoulder. He also might come and pick up some questions from you guys if we need to later on. So can I check that you can all hear me? Can you put your thumbs up if you can hear me? Nice. And then can you all make me your main picture? So I think you go to the top right to the 3 buttons. So could you put your thumbs up if you can see me nice and big filling your picture? Nice, good, love it. Well done everybody. So I want to take you on a little tour of the most ridiculous classroom in Bristol. Would you like to come with me? Should we do that? Right, should we go on a little tour? Okay, good. I'll take my microphone. Here we go. So as we come around here, I'll mix on the other side. This is where pupils come in at the start of the day. As you can see, we've still got a normal screen here, like a normal classroom, but we've also got a bar down here. So you can see that we have drinks on offer all the time, which are being cooked on our fire. We have a fire in the middle of our classroom. In winter, we go keep warm with this fire down here, so that people never get chilly. And then over here, we've got our normal whiteboard, but it's not normal because it's on it. And it says, "Welcome Futura Schools." Behind there, secretly, we've got another fire, and that's our quiet space. For people who might be feeling quiet or upset or worried, they can go and sit behind there with a nice cozy fire. And then over here, we've got our whole system for lights. So under here, I've got a whole bank of batteries, and up on top, I've got solar panels, and that will give us all the lighting we need, even in the middle of winter. And then finally, are you still with me everybody? Over here, in the middle of our classroom, we have a nest box. And a few days ago, all the baby birds flew away. And so I put some pretend eggs in there for you. So the nest box, up till a few days ago, had actual blue tits in. And then the other day, they all flew off into the wild. Is that good? Okay, I'll go back to my desk. I'd like to take you all on a journey. And the journey is going to have a few chapters, like in a book. The first chapter is going to be called Life on Earth. The next chapter is going to be called My Life on Earth. That's going to be boring, just about my life on Earth. The next one's going to be called Crazy Life on Earth. And the last one's going to be called Respecting Life on Earth. Is that okay? So if we start at the beginning, first of all, we had Earth. And all it was rock. And these rocks are actually 2 billion years old. Now, year 5, definitely year 6. How many zeros are there in a billion? 6 billion years old. 2 billion years old. Good. And then after a while, if we imagined that your length of your classroom was the whole time that the world had been alive, so we call that a timeline. If you were going to walk from the back of your classroom along a timeline, and today was the front end of the classroom and the beginning of the world was the back end, then when you get to the first tables, that's when life started. And we had some really weird life at that stage. Really weird little things. And then, one time you get to the second set of tables, sharks and insects and plants all started to appear. So can you believe that sharks were around as some of the first animals? This is 450 million years ago. There were some weird animals floating around at the same time. Then there were plants, very, very simple plants. And to start with, they didn't have any flowers. And then there were insects. I didn't choose any creepy crawlies, although I do have some live ones. Could you find me a beetle, please, Briar? Nice. Hello. Do you think that should I show it to them on the camera? Here's some beetles. Maybugs, thank you, Briar. Briar says they're maybugs. So this guy was crawling around here this morning, so I thought I'd show him to you. He flies around at night, and I had a light on, so he came down to the light. Would you like to set them free, please, Briar? In the woods there, where they came from last night. And other insects that were flying around here last night? Do you like different coloured moths? Here's a bright yellow moth for you. Right, I got some more things to set free. Here's a furry-headed moth. Thank you very much.
I should take off the tissue.
That's okay, they'll fly off themselves when they're ready. Bye! Then finally, we had some birds. The birds came from a different place, not where the dinosaurs came from. The dinosaurs were different to the birds. People think that all the birds came from the dinosaurs. So then we had lots of different types of birds. Do you guys prefer patterns or fun colours? I think I prefer patterns myself. This is a guinea fowl and this is a peacock. Nice. Finally, by the time that you have got to the front of your classroom and your feet have touched the wall, finally the distance between you and the wall will be the time that humans were around. Have we got a human? The time that humans have been around was only the time between when you got to the end of your classroom and the gap between your face and the wall. All the rest of that time was all the time that it took for wildlife to evolve. This one's plastic, by the way. I hope it is, otherwise he got bashed up. I think that might be because my son played football with it. That's very disrespectful. We're trying to be respectful to nature, and we're part of nature. Fortunately, I need to tell you a sad thing, but certainly in our crazy classroom we have that safe space for being sad, and that's okay, that in the last 50 years, which is only a tiny amount of time, we lost half of life on Earth. And so we know that we need to respect, very much respect, what we've got left. And I'm going to talk to you about different ways to learn to respect it. And I've got a challenge for you. I want you to choose my most ridiculous story and tell it to an adult at some point today. So you got to listen out and choose which of the ridiculous stories in the next 15 minutes is your favourite, and then you got to remember it and you got to tell it to an adult later on today. So we've just been thinking carefully about how long it took for wildlife to what's called evolve, which means to develop into all these crazy different types of animals and plants. And that deserves some respect. I was lucky to go and see all the different types you could imagine, because I spent 1 or 2 decades travelling around the world making films about wildlife, mainly underwater. So I'm going to tell you some of those stories. Maybe tell Sandy what your questions are about my travels, and he'll fly back and tell me in a second. Well, I used to work underwater. One of the craziest things I did was to dive with big whales. This is the teeth of whales. This whale actually very sadly died. I swam with it in Scotland before it died in winter. It wasn't very well. It was a bit ill, and I dived with it in a loch. When I came back up to the surface, the world had gone white because it had snowed, and also the whale was dying. It was quite spiritual. So, but this sadly died. Anyway, other whales I dived with were very happy, and one whale lifted my boat out of the water, and so I decided to stroke him. In fact, I wanted to touch his tongue because he was being very friendly. A tongue of a whale? How big is a tongue of a whale? Bigger than you, a lot bigger than you. Anyway, shall I tell you a secret? How many people are there listening? Are you guys all good with secrets? I got scared, so I tickled his teeth instead of touching his tongue. And these are his teeth. So the water comes into his mouth, he squirts all the water out through all these gaps here, called baleen plates, and all the little fish, like this guy, get caught in the baleen plates, and then he eats them all up. Should we put this one back in the pond?
No.
You want to? You want to eat it? You dare me? I'll eat it. Anyone want fish breakfast? All right.
Bing.
That's disgusting. It's rubber. You tricked me. You tricked me. I got a naughty assistant today. So also, I used to swim with dolphins. I had 2 dolphins that were about the age of Briar, and they decided to trap me on the bottom one day. Did I tell you this story? So I dived with them so often, they thought, why can this guy hold his breath for so long? So I was on the bottom of the sea, and the dolphins came and parked over my head. And they knew me well because I've been diving with them every day for a month. And then they said, no, I want to see how long you can hold your breath, Mr. Man. And eventually I started running out of breath. So I had to poke them in their tummies with my camera, and that let me off. And I was able to swim up. But I got to see some very, very crazy animals out and about. I could show you some more of those if you like. But Sandy's come back from one of your schools with a question. The question was, what was your favourite and what was your most scary encounter? Whichever school that was, thank you very much for that.